Good afternoon, welcome to Brox and Max. Like and subscribe. We're at a Taco Bell here.
You'll make a video of
I got my young son here. I had to feed him some lunch because we had to go look at something. It's a definite had to happen. So stay tuned. Maybe this deal will happen, maybe it won't. We'll find out. This guy's yard is literally... This is before it goes to another country. Never seen anything like it. Got a beautiful DM here with a boat. Got a little bit of everything. I have my sunglasses on today. It's wanting to have some type of sunlight. About 2 days of cloud cover. I would call it 2 days of morning. I missed out on a truck that went to export. I'm pretty upset about it. But it's how it goes sometimes. You're on Marketplace, and if you don't get to it first, then chances are it just happens. But luckily, for this video, I managed to save one that I would call pretty special in the Brockway world. Why on earth was a Brockway going to export in 2024 is what I would like to know. But I guess not today, because I saved it. So stay tuned and check it out. So before I reveal what the truck actually is, let's check out the brand new steer tires and then brand new drive tires. I don't know how old they are, but they're not weather checked. And they literally have brand new tread on them. I'm pretty impressed. And then, this truck obviously came from Brooklyn, or lived in Brooklyn. I didn't necessarily get it from Brooklyn, but its whole life lived in Brooklyn, New York. Right out of the gate, right from the dealer in Brooklyn. There was a Brockway dealer down in Brooklyn. I can't believe the truck is still around to be able to give us a little short story of itself. But anyway, without further ado, check this truck out. I know, right? So anyway, this is a Brockway 776. How do you know it's a 776? Well, once upon a time, there was a badge that was 776. But now it's only got the 6. How did I get this truck, you might ask? It's been on a lot of social media platforms. It's been on the internet for at least a decade, sitting on a side street in Brooklyn, and for some reason, nobody has been able to get their hands on it. I can't figure out why, and I wasn't going to take the time to go down there and find out myself. 776s are pretty rare now, my opinion. They're just like a 761, other than the hood is a little bit shorter and the cab is a little bit further forward. So the best way to describe this one, it's between a 761 and a 758, because even the cab mounting is slightly higher than a 761 and a 758. But it's not as short as a 758 or as long as a 761. It's its own unique model. Came out in, I believe, 1976. I don't think there's any 776 models made in 1975 or the non-+3 era or flatback cab, whatever anybody wants to call it. And I guess I have to eat my hat, because I always thought 776s all came down the assembly line with fiberglass fenders, and this is not the case with this particular truck. This is steel fenders, and there's nothing that tells me that these are replacement fenders. I believe these were the factory fenders from day one with this truck. Now, let's look at some Brooklyn details. Not necessarily on this particular truck, but just Brooklyn details. We have this awesome contraption to make sure that nobody steals the truck in the middle of the night. Because obviously, somebody tried and took out the regular door lock. I'm not sure why, but the little bit of time that I spend down in New York City, this is a very common thing for vehicles to have their own padlock mechanism system on doors. Not quite sure why, but that's a thing. So we have N776LL 91056. And Jimmy Lee used to drive it. So this truck was going to export. How do I know it was going to export? Well, I was on Facebook Marketplace. I was looking under Max, which is what I normally do because I, for some reason, have a fascination for Max. And I found this post. I'll even show a little clip of it, of a guy wandering around a truck that he has for sale, and this was in the background. And ironically enough, I knew this particular person, not very well, but enough for me to get a hold of him and say, hey, remember me? He said, oh, I remember you. Well, what's the deal with the Brockway? He goes, I bought it for export, and it did not make the cut. What do you mean it didn't make the cut? It did not. It failed the parameters to make it up the boat ramp. It was literally at the port, with the stickers and everything on this truck. And it says here on this little sticker, rejected, not safe, and whatever this other part says. So it's even got the stickers for where it was gonna go, how it was gonna go, and however export works. But the guy told me it did not pass because they did not like the vice grip throttle pedal, and then the rope return for the throttle. So literally, because Brockways are such a piece of junk and the floor was rotted out and the throttle pedal is messed up, is why it could not make the cut. So I guess somewhat funny, and it literally saved itself for being as rough as it is. I believe the mileage is accurate. It's got 136,000. And probably the hours are not accurate. I would bet it's probably turned over once and they go to 10,000 hours. So 13,000 hours doesn't seem out of the realm for a truck that really hasn't left New York City. And we even have this action here. This is just, the ignition switch went bad, so this is what we're gonna do. So we bend this over with a vice grip to get behind for the ignition switch to just have this on-off light switch. But whatever. Overall, the truck is decent. We have a little pond here because of the rain from all the depressing. Didn't get every single truck. One Mack did go, unfortunately. But even we needed an air horn really bad, and we decided to just rip it out of the roof. But the roof is actually good. I need to pull the headliner down and pop out that dent, and the rear window drip rail area is in pretty good shape. It's in pretty solid shape. Got a little bit of rotting through the cab corner, which is normal. Actually, let me roll this window up. If we don't get any more carnage. Oh, what's this? We actually had a for sale sign. No way. This is breaking news to me. So this truck actually was for sale. Everything that I ever saw on social media, the guy either didn't want to sell it or was asking way too much for this truck. But check out the graffiti. Check out, this is straight from New York City. This poor truck just sitting around minding its own business and gets a free paint job. Got literally brand new drive tires on it. How old they are, I have no clue, but they're not even dry rotted. What's under the hood? Now mind you, when I went to go look at this truck at this guy's place, there was 2 mounted 22.5 tires on the top of the hood. This is just a shame. So needless to say, the hood needs a hug, and the hood is pretty rough. But we have what looks to be a 270 Cummins, turbocharged, no Jake, but it's all intact. The last inspection sticker is 2008, which I would believe that's accurate. Mother Nature does like to take over after a while, so we're talking over 15 years ago, and this is what the truck looks like after sitting around, never being indoors, and apparently the graffiti artists wanted to stake their claim on this truck. It's fairly complete minus the passenger side fuel tank, and I think it's just been a fuel truck its whole entire life. There's nothing that's screaming at me that the wheelbase has been changed, The frame is absolutely perfect. That was probably the deciding factor as to why I wanted to save it. If it was rough frame-wise, I may have just passed on it. I'm not concerned about the sheet metal. The sheet metal can be fixed. And you know what? Frames can be fixed. But if it was both, I wouldn't have considered it. We even got this padlock still in use here. So anyway, this was going to the Dominican Republic. Where from there, I'm not sure. I don't know if it was going to stay in the Dominican Republic. I don't know if it would have ventured down to Haiti. I'm not quite sure. But the guy was going to cut it up that I got it from. He was just checked out on this truck. He just wasn't interested in fixing it. It got rejected at the port. He had to go take it from the port back to his yard, which takes time, effort, and money. So he was just over this truck. So I had to save it. It does run. I may make a video of it running. But the first thing I have to do is, because it was completely neglected forever, it needs a fuel cap. And how long that fuel cap has been missing, I don't know, because the guy has had it a year at least in his yard. So I would imagine I have to drain the tank and just start from scratch, get a fuel cap. No big deal, but I'm going to start from scratch, drain the fuel out, start it with new fuel, and maybe it'll give half a chance. I did actually hear it running. He insisted that I hear it run, and it does run. It runs pretty good. Not that it shouldn't for 138,000 miles original. Anybody know what any of this graffiti means? You see it on trains all the time, but I have no clue why people do this and what it actually means. I do know that this tank R&M Rennick and Mahoney Division, Deer Park, Long Island, New York. I want to make sure I said it right. Yep, Deer Park, Long Island, New York. Neat old sticker. I did check the back to make sure Jimmy Hoffa wasn't in there, and I did not find Jimmy Hoffa. I did find remnants of what it smells like fuel. It's worked its whole life since 2008. Maybe I should have shot this video 2 weeks earlier. My level of excitement would have been a little bit more peppy. But I was able to calm myself down and get a good look at the truck. And I'm still happy that I bought it. So that's that for this video. Stay tuned for another video trying to get it running and maybe yard driving. I'm sure it functions. I just don't know how much work it entails to get it going. But hope you enjoyed it. Sorry for all the bird noise in the background. Apparently they're excited too. But check out my other stuff. And as always, like and subscribe. And there's always going to be more to come. But this one was pretty special to me. Able to save a Brockway from export. That's one for the books for me. So I'll catch you at the next one.